What's going on, folks? Happy Thursday to you. Welcome to this Got Your Back short shift. What's going on? Hey, what's going on down at Oiler Camp? What's going on with these last few roster spots that still have to be determined? Well, on today's short shift, we're just going to dig right into it, and I'm going to do my best to give you some answers. A couple of spots still to be determined, no question about it. Who's got the inside track? Who's most likely to start opening night? What does it mean who starts opening night and who doesn't? We'll go over all of that. And what's going on with Puljujarvi and the potential for a trade? Welcome to Got Your Back Short Shifts. And a reminder that our short shifts are brought to you by Mid-City Construction Management, a locally owned family company specializing in civil construction projects for over 40 years. From roadways to excavation, underground utilities, paving, and concrete, they've played a massive role in the infrastructure of Edmonton and surrounding areas since 1980. And by the way, did you know that they're hiring right now? They're looking for quality people of all different qualifications, equipment operators, grounds people, concrete workers, snow removal, full and part-time positions are available. And there's plenty of room for growth and advancement. For a full list, go to mid-city.ca and click Apply Now. That is mid-city.ca and click Apply Now, as I very deftly fade the music out with the intro and the ad read now complete. And as the music fades, that's an indication we're going to get down to business. So let's get down to business. All right, for the purposes of this short shift, we're going to assume everybody is going to be healthy and ready to go for opening night. Leon Draisaitl took a personal day. Warren Foegele was held off the ice on Thursday. Samorukov, same thing. Tyler Benson has been shifted to week. And we think Kailer Yamamoto will be ready to go for next week at all. So in all our discussions about who might fit in where, let's assume that they're ready to start the year with everybody healthy and ready to go. So let's start first and foremost with this position, the position that I think has the most up in the air right now, and that is on the blue line. And in particular, that 6th and 7th spot. Here is the problem, folks. Philip Broberg was supposed to grab this position. This was supposed to be his to lose. And unfortunately for him, through training camp and exhibition, he's kind of barely hanging on to it. In fact, he might have already lost it as we sit right here and now. Now, there's one more exhibition game to play. We believe there'll be real good competition. Going to be interesting to see if he gets into that one or not. So what has happened? Well, it was a slow start in rookie camp and then a slow start to main camp. Had a tough time figuring out a way to make an impact during the exhibition games. And he's been flat out passed, right? Markus Niemelainen has a dimension that Broberg doesn't have. His puck handling looks like it's been pretty good, Niemelainen's, and so he's passed Philip Broberg. Ryan Murray, a veteran player, has been brought in. He's passed Philip Broberg if he wasn't already there at the start of training camp. And you could argue that Samorukov has also played as well, if not a little bit better here in recent days. So you have this guy that came into training camp with a spot to lose, and man, he's having a hard time clinging to it. So what decisions are the coaching staff going to make about this? Well, based on practice today, Ryan Murray looked like he was skating on a third pairing alongside Tyson Barrie. My bet is if the regular season were starting tomorrow, Philip Broberg would be scratched and Ryan Murray would be in the lineup. Now, the question with Broberg is he better off to be in the American League to start the year and playing 23 minutes a night, or in and out of the lineup, and did the Oilers decide to try and let him play his way through whatever is going on in his game right now? Because to send him down would be a big disappointment and a tough way to start the year. The Oilers have a decision to make. They didn't want to have a decision to make on Philip Broberg. They wanted it to be obvious. They wanted it to be a no-brainer that he just grabbed that spot that was there to be his and left no doubt. But he has. He's left a lot of doubt. Listen, we're going to go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox here and listen to Jay Woodcroft talking about the competition for jobs, and in particular, when asked about Ryan Murray, the competition for that 6D spot in the lineup. We'll remind you, Weiss Johnson, really happy to have them on board here as sponsoring our soundbox and other things here on the podcast. A new high-efficient furnace to replace your really old inefficient one might be in order right now. How about a garage heater for your garage to make it great for the family to get into that nice warm vehicle, or for your man cave if you want to heat things up over the winter? Installing a garage heater also will help if you have rooms over the garage that are always a little cooler too. So maybe helping out in some ways, keeping the rest of the house a little warm up above that garage. I'm thinking about a garage heater this year. Weiss Johnson for sure will be the crew that I call. They did my air conditioner last summer and I absolutely love it. So Weiss Johnson, 5803 Roper Road, 780-463-3096. And you know what? I actually think we even have the Weiss Johnson. There it is. Hey, if you have it, you might as well use it. How recognizable is that? Anyways, back to the point. As we go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox, here's Jay Woodcroft today talking about the fact that they are very open-minded and no decisions are set in stone.
We're serious about icing the best lineup possible. And it would be hypocritical if we came up here and said, oh, yeah, well, there's lots of battles and, there's a fight for ice time or privileged ice time or roles within the team, and then just had a set way of thinking that was decided in August or early September. We got to use our eyes. And we can't be afraid to see what we see. And Ryan Murray's had a good camp.
Yes, Ryan Murray has had a good camp, and if the regular season were starting now, I think that he would be in. So Philip Broberg, if he gets into this last exhibition game, he's going to have a chance. Needs to find a way to distinguish himself. What are we seeing in his game? He doesn't look to have the same get up and go that we saw him last year. We know he came into camp bigger, heavier this year, but not in a bad way, more muscular, right? One of the elements he knew he needed to add to his game was to strengthen up a little bit. Sometimes that can come at a cost, though, depending on how you do it. He's clearly thicker, looks stronger, but he doesn't look as fleet of foot as he did at times last season, and losing that tiny little bit of a step might have hurt him here. So he's going to have to try and sort himself out, put together a good performance should he get into their final exhibition game, or he could find himself in a tough position. All right, the other main battle. It involves the third line. Really, the second line and the third line, right? So here's the reality. Jesse Puljujarvi, a top six forward for large portions of last season, he's being pushed by both Dylan Holloway and Warren Foegele for a spot in the top six when it comes to Holloway, certainly in the top nine when it comes to Warren Foegele. Those guys didn't push in the same way last year. They've suddenly both burst onto the scene and are putting pressure on Puljujarvi. His last two games were his best of the preseason. His last game, though it was tough to watch on video, my sense from some people in and around it, close to it, is that he actually was not bad in that last game, probably his best performance. So that's good for Puljujarvi. I think he's going to get in again on Friday night, and this is going to be a big game for him. He's trying to hang on to a spot in the top six and on that third line. Now, likelihood is Yamamoto won't be ready to go for Friday night, so Puljujarvi might get a look in the top six. If he does, man, he's got to grab it, and he's got to run hard with it, because this will be a good opportunity for him to show something, and he's got Dylan Holloway beating down the door on the second line. Holloway likely to play in a top six role in that game as well. The other problem that Puljujarvi has is that third line with McLeod, Nugent-Hopkins, and Foegele has looked really good so far through the exhibition season, and if I were penciling things in for opening night, I'd have that third line all day long based on what you've seen. You heard Jay Woodcroft a minute ago say, we want to use our eyes. If they've been using their eyes, that'll be the Oilers' third line to start the year unless something dramatic happens on Friday night. So Puljujarvi's put himself into a spot here with a bit of a sluggish start. Really, it's what other guys have done. Foegele and Holloway have distinguished themselves in their last week and a half or so. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening here. And then all of that leads around to the Jesse Puljujarvi trade discussions as well. And that'll be the last thing we hit on here in this short shift. Here is what I believe is real. I think the Oilers are still actively trying to trade Jesse Puljujarvi. No question about it. Their cap space puts them in a tough spot. Trading that salary off the books would relieve all kinds of problems for them, and I think it's got to be tempting to do it. But I do believe they're holding firm on their asking price, and it's the asking price that they've had in place for a little while. I think they want a second-round pick for him, or they're not going to be willing to move him so far. And I don't believe that second-round pick has been there for the taking. maybe thirds, a combination of a third and a fourth, something like that, third and a fifth, maybe that's been there. I think they're holding firm on their price of a second round pick. Now, does that change as the pressure point ratchets up? The Oilers are in grave danger here of starting the season with far less than a 23-man roster, and they are going to be razor thin to the cap. It's going to be a juggling act, and it's not an ideal situation to be in, but it's the situation they find themselves in as long as they still have Jesse Puljujarvi or Warren Foegele or whatever trade chip as part of this team. So, holding their ground, looking for that second-round pick. It's not on the table. In the meantime, there's a competition going on. They're hoping Puljujarvi gets in and plays well because his trade value goes up. And if the trade isn't there, his value to the team goes up. Puljujarvi playing well solves a lot of problems for the Oilers. He's coming on here. Let's see what he does in this exhibition game on Friday night. So I think that trade is still potentially in the works, whether it happens or not. If the Oilers are willing to move off of that second-round pick as they get close to the roster deadline and the cap deadlines and that pressure ratchets up, do they suddenly change their mind and say, all right, fine, take the best deal on the table because you need the relief? They've gutted it out this long. I'd be surprised if they did that. I think they're going to stick to their guns because I think the other part of this is they still believe that Jesse Puljujarvi can help them when he's playing well. It's going to be an interesting few days, and that exhibition game on Friday night is going to determine a lot. It's going to be a fun one to watch, and we'll see how many veterans they have in the lineup. Be interesting to see if Leon Draisaitl gets back in. My expectation is that he will. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this short shift. Thanks for checking us out. Big thanks to our sponsors, Mid-City Construction Management, and of course, Weiss Johnson. We'll be back with a full-size pod early on next week with Jason Strudwick and Terry Ryan, so check that out. Might drop another short shift coming up here on the weekend. Maybe after the game against Seattle, we'll reevaluate things. But hey, one more exhibition game to go, and then finally they start to play some games for real. It's about damn time, isn't it? Thanks for downloads, folks. We'll check in with you again soon. Cheers.